All right. So, besides that, we have some indictments to go over now, don't we? I didn't really, if I remember correctly, on Tuesday, were the indictments out yet? I don't think so. Yeah, they came out Wednesday, so we haven't covered them yet. I know there was like rumors about them on Tuesday, but now we have the big indictment. So, former President Donald Trump is apparently has pled not guilty in the charges brought forth by special counsel Jack Smith in his January 6th investigation. Let's take a look at that, and then we'll take a look at the actual indictments really quickly, shall we? Oh, can we play this? No, this is just Trump going to arraignment. Oh, we can watch that. That's okay. I'm cool with that. It's just helicopter footage. How's this even legal? Don't you think they'd not want people? Man, my dude looks fucking nervous. Like usually Trump's got some pep in his step, but he does not look thrilled about this. So, former president, let's do dark mode. Let's zoom in for my old eyes and, for your guys' convenience. I mean, former President Donald Trump pleaded not guilty Thursday to federal charges accusing him of orchestrating a criminal conspiracy to try and derail the transfer of power after the 2020 election. Trump faces 4 felony charges stemming from his months-long bid to seize a second term despite losing the election to President Joe Biden. The charges brought by special counsel Jack Smith and approved by a federal grand jury earlier this week accused Trump of a wide-ranging plot to spread disinformation about the election, pressure state officials to undo results in states that Biden won, undermine the Electoral College, and ultimately try to disrupt Congress's certification of the results on January 6, 2021. Let's move that slightly over. The arraignment took place at the E. Barrett Prettyman U.S. courthouse, located across the street from the Capitol, where thousands of his supporters rioted 2.5 years ago in what prosecutors say was the culmination of Trump's effort to subvert the election. It was his third arraignment since April, an extraordinary sequence for a nation in which no other president or former president had ever been indicted until Trump was indicted in 3 cases this year. As he mounts a bid to return to the White House, those 3 prosecutions seek to hold him criminally culpable for a variety of actions he undertook both during and after his presidency. All right, let's take a look. In addition to the newest case accusing him of seeking to overturn the 2020 election, Smith's team has also charged him in Florida for hoarding classified documents after he left the White House and New York prosecutors have charged him with falsifying business records in connection with hush money payments to a porn star. Man, I'm not gonna lie, like the porn star one, like that's the icing to me. If anything else, that right there is the icing. This is the cake. Shit, I also just realized. 1 second. Oh, can this go back all the way? No, it can't. Too much stuff here. Oh yeah, Marie. You use probably maybe like 2 or 3 minutes at this point. You could probably go grab the colors, and then I set a timer for the white. It's the kitchen. Thank you. Almost forgot to mention that. Oh, right. Trump may soon face yet another criminal case in Fulton County, Georgia, where District Attorney Fani Willis expects to announce charges this month in her investigation into election interference in that state. Trump's motorcade arrived at the courthouse around 3:15 p.m. Thursday after he flew to Washington from his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey. Trump, wearing a dark blue suit and red tie, was processed as a criminal defendant and then entered his not guilty plea in a wood-paneled courtroom before Magistrate Judge Maxilla Apandiaha. Whoa, that is a fucking name. Also, do I need to know what's... Yeah, I know what suit he was wearing, guys. Although the judge presided over the arraignment, U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, Chutkan had been assigned to handle the case and will likely preside over most future court appearances. Trump criticized Chutkan in a social media post a few hours before he came to court on Thursday, calling her, quote, unfair. Chutkan, an Obama appointee, ruled against Trump in 2021 when she allowed the House January 6 Select Committee to access Trump's White House records. Much of the evidence in those records has now resurfaced in the new indictment. The 4 charges he faces are conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to deprive Americans of the right to a fair election process, conspiracy to obstruct Congress's proceedings on January 6, 2021, and carrying out an obstruction effort. So let's... okay. On the outset, let's kind of like, before we get into it too much, there's kind of 2 ways I think to look at this. One from I think like from an electoral perspective, and one from a procedural legal perspective. Let's do the first one first, obviously. In terms of electoralism, what will this mean for Trump? Well, I think in terms of electoralism, I think this is actually pretty good for Trump. I actually don't think this is going to be an incredibly harmful state of affairs for him. Quite frankly, many of his supporters already see him as a victim. He himself kind of always speaks in terms and frames himself as a victim of basically any and everything. So this really isn't something where I think it's going to cut against him in the electoral process. I think this bolsters his claim to unfair targeting by the DOJ and by Biden's DOJ. I think this will only validate that take or that claim. And I certainly think the same for his supporters. Trump supporters are only going to be emboldened, only going to be hardened. I think only going to feel more, more strife in their minds because of this. This will most likely motivate Republican voters pretty decently. I think more than anything, we have the first debate is at the end of the month, right? I'm not crazy about that. First, 1 second, let me double check that. First Republican, debate. Let's take a look. Vox, yeah, when? Can I get a date? August 23rd. Okay, that's good. Ooh, better question. It's on a Wednesday. Of course it would be. We'll cover it. We'll cover it on Thursday though. We'll find the good parts on Thursday. But yeah. So that's happening at the end of the month with all of this kind of lining up in the weeks leading into it. I think we're going to see a clear picture in terms of the messaging that the Trump himself and the Trump campaign is going to be running primarily on. He's obviously going to be running on his cult of personality, but he's going to be up there with a couple other candidates who don't have as much legal baggage, and we'll kind of see how he wields all of this legal kerfuffles that he's been in. Whether as armor or as weapons. We'll kind of see, I think. My prediction is, again, he's going to paint himself as the victim. Mike Pence is going to embarrass himself by not going all the way on criticism. He already kind of did that a little bit. But you got DeSantis out there kind of being a wet bag. It's just, I don't see this going well for anybody in the Republican primary because, again, this is just building that Trump aggrievement syndrome. So that's the electoral side of this. The other end of this, the more legal process side of it, this is not looking good. To say that Trump is in trouble, I think, is a big understatement. Quite frankly, to be in like one legal battle is already really stressful, and especially ones of this magnitude. Yeah. To be indicted on, 4 charges right now on this case, right? Um, Consider that you have the other, 37 or whatever number it was for the business dealings. Trump is currently racking up case after case after case after case. He is like falling into every single bottomless trap hole in terms of legal action against him. And the idea that somebody's going to dodge every single one of these, because that's the thing, right? He needs to get out of all of these if he wants to save his own skin. And that first batch from New York, that's 37. He needs to shake off 37 counts of fraud, crimes, everything else. Now he's got these. That's another 4. In the previous article we just read, he's got more troubles in Georgia coming down the pike. So, this guy's got to be perfect. Perfect dodging, perfect pairing, every single one of these. Do I think that that's even feasibly possible? No, I genuinely don't. I don't think he's going to get out of every single case that's been brought against him. He'll certainly dodge a few, but all of them, I think that's highly unlikely. That being said, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Oh, I just hit that button by accident. That being said, let's go over some of the like big bullet points here, shall we? All right, 6 co-conspirators. The indictment does not identify any of the 6 alleged co-conspirators who prosecutors say unlawfully agreed to aid Trump's bid to subvert the election, but 5 of them were readily identifiable based on the widely known details in the indictment. They are Rudy Giuliani, Trump's lawyer and the leader of an effort to pressure state legislators to reverse election results. John Eastman, a constitutional lawyer who helped develop the strategy to pressure Mike Pence to overturn the election on January 6th. We should really strip somebody like this of their constitutional lawyer credibility, but okay. Sidney Powell, a nut job, a conservative nut job lawyer who pushed fringe theories about manipulation of voting machines. Jeffrey Clark, a Justice Department lawyer who pressed DOJ leaders to sow doubt about the election results. And Ken Chesebro, an architect of key elements of Trump's fake elector strategy. Keep in mind, this is the same elector strategy that the Supreme Court still has been dodging, or at the very, what was it? Didn't they turned it down, but it wasn't a complete rebuke of the theory so far. There were just issues they had with how it was implemented or whatever, or argued. The identity of the 6 alleged co-conspirators, a political consultant, was not immediately verifiable, but the indictment says that person played a role in the effort to assemble false slates of pro-Trump presidential electors in states that Biden won. Even though the 6 were not charged, at least for now, designating them as co-conspirators could have benefits for prosecutors at trial, like making it easier to introduce their emails as evidence or take testimony from other witnesses that could otherwise be barred as hearsay. Moreover, the alleged co-conspirators may be unlikely to take the witness stand to defend Trump because their testimony could be used against them, and doing so could expose them to cross-examination and the possibility of being charged. Ooh, man, real Yu-Gi-Oh move right here. I like it. All right, several new facts jumped off of the 45 pages of Jack Smith's indictment that went beyond what had been obtained by the House January 6th Select Committee or revealed in prior court battles. Among them were Prosecutors say Trump offered, and Clark accepted, the job of acting attorney general on January 3rd, 2021. The select committee found phone records listing Clark as acting attorney general before Trump rescinded the appointment under the threat of mass resignation from DOJ leaders. But the committee did not confirm that Trump had made the official appointment. Prosecutors say that Pat Philbin, Trump's deputy White House counsel, warned Clark that if he and Trump pressed ahead with plans to stay in power past Biden's scheduled inauguration, there would be, quote, riots in the streets across the country. According to the indictment, Clark responded, quote, "That's why we have an Insurrection Act." Pretty fucking sus, gotta say. Pretty fucking sus. The indictment reveals that Mike Pence kept contemporaneous notes, including of his conversations with Trump in the weeks leading up to January 6th. In one December 29, 2020 conversation, Trump falsely told Pence that the Justice Department identified major infractions in election integrity, prosecutors say. So what, he was like lying to Pence towards the end of the year to kind of get him to be like, hey, look, Pensy baby, there's not enough, there's some problems, there's some infractions going on with the machines. But let's kind of zero in on this a little bit. Riots in the street, that's why we have an Insurrection Act. So keep in mind, this is Trump and his team saying that when they illegally seize power, when they essentially do a soft coup of our government, they would then use the legal apparatus of the Insurrection Act to stamp down, and let's be clear here, protest from basically everyone who's not a conservative American. Let's be honest about this. This is what that would look like. Millions of people in the street. Obviously, they can't deploy, the military or I think enough forces to stamp out, mass country spanning protests, but certainly they can make an example of one city, much like in the way that they did during the Black Lives Matter protests in DC, when Trump had his people basically clear a walkway so he could go take a picture in the middle of the chaos with a Bible in front of some church or something. At the end of the day, these guys are pretty okay with this kind of subversion of our laws and of our laws. I don't know what else I was looking for there. So this isn't super shocking to me. Threatening to use the Insurrection Act, that one doesn't shock me whatsoever. Most conspiracy cases involve allegations that defendants agreed to engage in conduct that violates a specific federal criminal law, but 2 of the 4 charges against Trump break from that mold. One accuses him of a conspiracy to defraud the United States. The other accuses him of a conspiracy to violate civil rights. Law once used against the Ku Klux Klan. Interesting. The civil rights charge is brought under a statute that dates to 1870, adopted in the aftermath of the Civil War and sometimes called the First Ku Klux Klan Act. The law was originally aimed at white supremacists and vigilantes, seeking to interfere with the ability of Black Americans to vote. In recent decades, the statute has typically been invoked against law enforcement officers accused of violence or mistreatment of people in their custody. The indictment alleges that Trump and others violated the statute in their plot to, quote, injure, oppress, threaten, and intimidate one or more persons in their free exercise and enjoyment of a right and a privilege secured by them by the Constitution and laws of the United States. That is the right to vote and the right to have one's vote counted. So yeah, this would be, you call the Insurrection Act against people because you subverted their votes. They have a right to their votes. Therefore, you've tripped up this specific law. That makes sense. Let's see. Paul Manafort. Whoa, sorry. A charge alleging a conspiracy to defraud of the United States is also uncommon, though not unheard of. Sometimes called a Klein conspiracy after a 1957 Supreme Court case, blessing the tactic. It is a charge most often seen in tax prosecutions, but it also brought in cases alleging a complex and wide-ranging effort to frustrate the operations of federal agencies. Tuesday's indictment didn't claim that Trump interfered with specific federal agencies. Rather, it accused him of using, quote, dishonesty, fraud, and deceit to impair, obstruct, and defeat the lawful federal government function by which the results of the presidential election are collected, counted, and certified by the federal government. Former special counsel Robert Mueller wielded the charge against Trump 2016 campaign advisors Paul Manafort and Rick Gates in connection with their efforts to undermine enforcement of tax and foreign agent registration laws. In a closer parallel to the Trump case, Mueller's team also brought the charge against Russia companies accused of interference in the 2016 presidential election, including Yevgeny Prigozhin. Christ. Wait, is that the same guy? Maybe? Who knows? The Russian, oh no, it is, mercenary leader who recently led a brief rebellion against Russian President Vladimir Putin. Interesting. If judges or a jury find those charges too esoteric, Smith also brought 2 more conventional charges, 2 counts. Oh, thanks, War Knight. Appreciate that. 2 counts, including 1 conspiracy count related to obstructing an official proceeding in the case in the January 6th session in which Congress was legally required to tally and certify electoral votes. Numerous January 6 rioters have already faced and been convicted of that charge. Slava Ukraine is right, my friend. What Smith left out. The indictment makes no reference to the organization of Trump's January 6th rally or the financing that went into it. Interesting. It omits evidence of Trump's serious consideration of a plan to use federal or military power to seize voting machines from several states in which Trump disputed the outcome. Evidence, Trump's serious consideration. So most likely I'm going to assume that they left that out just because serious consideration doesn't mean the same thing as conspiracy, because considering something and actually conspiring to go through it is probably 2 very different legal thresholds. It includes no allegations of any links between Trump and the extremist groups who attacked the Capitol or references to other featured by January 6th committees as key players like Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, and I would say that also mostly makes sense, mainly because you don't want to get bogged down with I suppose you don't want to get bogged down in trying to prove that Trump has direct and like meaningful links to these groups, because I think it's a pretty what's the word I'm looking for, I feel like it's probably a little bit more difficult to, at least for a jury, prove like, oh yeah, he's siding with them, as opposed to what I think is more accurate, which was they're Trump supporters, so Trump likes them. If they're Nazis, who cares? Does Trump believe any of the stuff that they believe? No, but that's not important. The important part is that they're supporting him. That's kind of like the big thing. But either way, yeah. So we'll kind of see how that plays out, but it's not looking great. I don't think he'll be able to I don't foresee him dodging all of these. Have you considered, the thing that they tell, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to